In Crawfordsville, a young man finishes loading his Honda CR-V for Thanksgiving break, where he'll head back home to Avon, Indiana. He checks the list on his phone one last time to make sure he has everything, locks the door, and tosses his phone in his pocket. He heads down Crawfordsville Road, his phone now riding shotgun, ready to drive the same drive he has for the last 3 years, racing past the empty golden fields and watching them fade to a soft glow. With each passing minute, he grew more excited to visit his family, who he'd been without for weeks now. But an all-familiar buzz coming from the passenger seat took his attention. He reached over to grab the phone, reading the text from his girlfriend, and a smile drew across his face. He glanced up and quickly jolted the sedan back into the lane he had drifted out of. He then unlocked his iPhone, glanced up, glanced back down, and began typing a response to her text. As he slowly crept over the center line of State Road 39, a minivan quickly approached from the other lane. His focus had completely drifted just like the car, and in a matter of seconds he had traveled the length of a football field, headed straight into oncoming traffic and directly for the family ahead of him. In just a matter of months, Indiana has played witness to a staggering number of texting and driving accidents, most notably 3 cases that made national headlines in just a 3-month span. In June, police linked a multi-vehicle crash in Putnam County to texting and driving. Another more recent case in August reported that a car crash linked to texting and driving in Riley, Indiana, had killed all 3 victims, which were later found to be Indiana State students. And most recently, in August, Indiana Representative Jackie Walorski and 3 others, including 2 members of her staff, were killed following a texting and driving accident in Elkhart County. Like all Wabash men, I care about my brothers, community, and those close to me. As someone who frequently gets behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, I myself have witnessed more than a handful of driving accidents linked to texting and driving, and I feel compelled to call for change and better protect those around me. Today, I'll convey the seriousness of the texting and driving epidemic among Indiana by reviewing some of the causes, common problems, and solutions associated with it, and steps we can take to help ensure safer roadways for the future. The science is clear why multitasking doesn't work. An article by Cleveland Clinic showing that when our brain is constantly switching gears to bounce back and forth between tasks, especially when those tasks are complex and require our active attention, we become less efficient and more likely to make a mistake. This may not be as apparent or impactful when we're doing tasks that are simple and routine, like listening to music while we're walking or folding laundry while watching TV. But when the stakes are higher and the tasks are more complex, attempting to multitask can negatively impact our lives or even be dangerous. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, texting while driving is 6 times more dangerous than driving under the influence, yet the penalties for texting and driving are far less consequential. Under current Indiana state law, texting and driving violators in Indiana may only face up to a $500 fine, when those charged with DUI can be placed in jail and pay between $500 and $5,000 in fines. Often described as an epidemic, this public health issue must be addressed. In March of 2022, the NHTSA reported more than 40,000 people died in traffic crashes in 2020. The largest projected number of fatalities since 2007. Let me repeat that. That's 40,000 people died in traffic crashes in 2020. Many of those attributed to distracted driving. An Indy Star News story titled "Because of a Stupid Cell Phone, Regret, Anger, and Pain After Distracted Driving Crashes" tells the story of a distracted driving victim on a crash that left her paralyzed. Kira Hudson was driving, but her attention was on her phone conversation. She had been arguing with her boyfriend, one hand on the phone and one hand on the wheel, as she turned onto tree-lined Mill Creek Road near State Road 38 in Hamilton County. She remembers so many things about that day, but can't remember what exactly she and her boyfriend were arguing about. Yet as the 20-year-old drove down that road on January 31st, she was laser focused on her call. Movement had caught her eye, a squirrel in the middle of the road. She was only driving about 20 miles an hour. but instead of slowing down as she normally would, she panicked. Still clutching the phone, she cranked the wheel to the right. It was too hard. She dropped her phone to grab the wheel with both hands now, turning quickly to the left. Still too much force. Hudson rapidly corrected to the right, and the car flipped. Texting while driving should be charged as a misdemeanor or as a felony, depending on the facts and circumstances of the case in Indiana. In other words, the proposed solution would penalize drivers who are caught texting, similar to a DUI case. Law enforcement would have the jurisdiction to charge the driver with a misdemeanor or even a felony for their reckless driving habits. The U.S. Department of Justice reported a study conducted by the Institute of Police Traffic Management of the University of North Florida, showing that drivers as a whole became more attentive and drove slower in the presence of more severe traffic penalties. In the same sense, we could expect that placing a more severe penalty on texting and driving would decrease the number of associated accidents and create safer roads for our future. Some people may say that the proposed theory excludes other forms of distractions, some of which may take the driver's eyes off the road just as long as texting. There are many other forms of distraction while driving besides cell phone use, and the government cannot ban all forms of human driving distraction. Texting accounts for accidents because it takes the driver's attention from the road, but other factors such as eating, playing with the radio, applying makeup, or even reaching for other objects also pull the driver's eyes off the road. The main reason why texting and driving is the most dangerous type of distracted driving is because it entails all three types of distraction. The driver is thinking about the text conversation, looking for the phone to read messages, and using at least one hand to type responses. According to the National Safety Council and Insurance Federation, in the 15 states with greater punishment than Indiana for hands-free driving laws, traffic fatalities have decreased by an average of 16%. In turn, we are able to adopt the proposed solution of treating texting and driving with the same severity as a DUI. It would likely decrease the number of motor vehicle accidents linked to texting and driving, ultimately increasing road awareness as a whole. A pedestrian is killed every 2 hours and injured every 7 minutes somewhere in the United States due to distracted driving, according to the NHTSA. The NHTSA also reports that most drivers feel they can safely take their eyes off the road for about 2 seconds at a time, but a car can travel the length of a football field in just 5 seconds when driving 55 miles an hour. Statistics like this are why more than 3,000 Americans die each year from distracted drivers. Unofficially, that number could be closer to 20,000. If we do not adopt this solution, we can expect texting while driving accidents to increase just as they have over the last decade and claim more lives in the future. Until we can convince our legislators to change the penalty, there are actions we as young drivers and students can take to decrease texting and driving. Consider using technological tools to keep you and other drivers focused on the responsibility of driving. There are a wide array of apps and tools available to help prevent these accidents. For example, consider a tool that disables some phone functionalities when a driving situation is detected, locking the driver's cell phone screen, and redirecting calls to voicemail. To do this on an iPhone, go to your Settings app, tap Focus, and then tap Driving. Next, under Turn On Automatically, choose the option that best suits your needs. You can choose to turn on safe driving mode based on motion, connection to your Bluetooth, or connection to an Apple CarPlay device. Because drivers' perception of enforcement can largely alter their driving behaviors, enforcing a law that treats texting and driving similar to drunk driving could help create a safer environment for motorists.